Hi, this is Dawn from Ninja Bunny Crochet. Today we're going to make this Bean Stitch hat. I really like this hat. In fact, this is one that I made for myself. I made this using Red Heart Colorscape yarn. This is a medium 4 worsted weight yarn. It's 100% acrylic. It is 187 yards per ball. I used about half the ball to make this hat. You do not have to use this particular yarn. You can use any worsted weight medium 4 yarn. The color I used is called Munich. But again, you don't have to use this particular color yarn. You can use any medium 4 weight yarn you want. I used a 6.5 millimeter or K crochet hook. So let's get started on making a bean stitch hat. To start the bean stitch hat, we're going to start with a magic ring. And we're going to place 6 bean stitches into the center of the magic ring. To do a bean stitch, you insert into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert into the ring, pull up a loop, and we'll have 6 loops on our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yarn over, pull through all 6, and chain 1 to complete the stitch. Insert into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert into the ring, pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, insert into the ring, pull up a loop, and we have 6 loops on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yarn over, and pull through all 6 loops, chain 1 to complete the stitch. I'm going to show that one more time, and then you can complete the rest of the bean stitches. Insert into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over again, insert into the ring, and pull up a loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 6 loops, and chain 1 to complete the stitch. Now please continue this 3 more times until you have 6 bean stitches on your hook, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first bean stitch. I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. We're at the end of round 1. We have 6 bean stitches. We're going to pull our tail and tighten up that magic ring and slip stitch to the top of the first bean stitch. Chain 1, and to begin round 2, we're going to place 2 bean stitches into each of the chain 1 spaces. You might have to pull your bean stitches apart a little bit to find those chain 1 spaces. So insert your hook into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert again, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert again, and pull up a loop. And you'll have your 6 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 6, chain 1 to complete the stitch. You're going to do that one more time into the same stitch. Insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert again, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert one more time, and pull up a loop. 6 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 6, chain 1 to complete the stitch. I'm going to move to the next chain 1 space, which is right here. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and one more time. So we have 6 loops again on our hook, yarn over, and pull through all 6, chain 1 to complete the stitch. Do that one more time into the same stitch, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert again, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert again, and pull up a loop. 6 loops on our hook, yarn over, and pull through all 6, chain 1 to complete. Continue this pattern all the way around until you reach the beginning again, and we're going to slip stitch into the first bean stitch. So it's 2 bean stitches into each chain 1 space. And I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. Don't worry about your magic ring loosening up. You can just pull that tail and tighten it back up. Once we complete this round, you can sew that down if you'd like. Or once you get a few rounds on, you can sew it down. The choice is yours. Alright, finish this round and I'll meet back up with you. I'm at the end of round 2. We have 12 bean stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the top of the first bean stitch. To start round 3, we're going to chain 1 and single crochet into the same stitch we just slip stitched into 2 times. Then we're going to place 2 single crochets into each chain 1 space. Please complete this pattern all the way around to get back to the beginning, and I will meet up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 3. I have 24 stitches, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made. To start round 4, we're going to chain 1 and single crochet into the same stitch, and single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to single crochet increase into the next. Single crochet increase is single crocheting 2 times into the same stitch. Then single crochet into the next 3 stitches, then single crochet increase. Please repeat this all the way around to get back to the beginning. 3 single crochets and the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then a single crochet increase. And I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 4. We have 30 stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet we made, chain 1, and we're going to place a bean stitch into the same stitch we just slip stitched into. Our 6 loops on our hook, yarn over, and chain 1 to complete. We're going to skip the next stitch and bean stitch into the next. Skip the next stitch and place 2 bean stitches into the next. One more time, one more bean stitch into that stitch. Skip the next stitch and 1 bean stitch into the next. Skip the next and 1 bean stitch into the next. Skip the next one and 2 bean stitches into the next. And this is going to be our pattern around. So it's going to be bean stitch, skip, bean stitch, skip, 2 bean stitches. So please continue that all the way around to get back to the beginning. I'm at the end of round 5. We have 20 bean stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first bean stitch that we made. To start round 6, we're going to chain 1 and place 1 bean stitch into the same stitch we just slip stitched into. Another bean stitch into the next chain 1 space. And another bean stitch into the next chain 1 space. Then we're going to place 2 bean stitches into this next chain 1 space. And 1 bean stitch into the next chain 1 space. And 1 bean stitch into the next chain 1 space. One bean stitch into the next chain 1 space. And 2 bean stitches into the next chain 1 space. And this will be our pattern all the way around till we get back to the beginning. I'm at the end of round 6. we have 25 bean stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first bean stitch we made. To start round 7, we're going to chain 1 and place two single crochets into the same stitch we just slip stitched into. And then place 2 single crochets into each chain 1 space around. Make sure you actually get into the chain 1 space, not this space right here. It's this little triangle space right here is where you're working. You can see that in the camera right here, this triangle space. Continue going around, and I will meet you back at the beginning, or at the end of the round. Okay, I'm at the end of round 7. We have 50 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made. Chain 1, and to start round 8, we're going to single in the same stitch that we just slip stitched into, and single in the next 3 stitches. For a total of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to single increase. That's placing 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. Then single in the next 4 stitches. And single increase in the next. I'm going to repeat this again. I'm going to repeat this all the way around. Single in the next 4 stitches. And then single increase. Please repeat this all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of this round. This is going to be our last round to increase. I'm at the end of round 8. We have 60 stitches. We will not be increasing anymore. We're going to slip stitch into our first single crochet that we made, chain 1 to start round 9. We're going to bean stitch into the same stitch we just slip stitched into. Skip the next stitch and bean stitch into the next. Skip the next stitch and bean stitch into the next. Skip the next stitch and bean stitch into the next. This is going to be our pattern all the way around. Skip the next stitch and bean stitch into the next. Please complete this all the way around, and I will meet up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 9. We have 30 bean stitches. We're going to slip stitch to the top of the first bean stitch that we made, chain 1, and then we're going to bean stitch in each of the chain 1 spaces around. continue this all the way around until you get back to the beginning, and I'll meet up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 10, 30 bean stitches, and we're going to slip stitch to the top of our first bean stitch. To start round 11, we're going to chain 1 and place 2 single crochets into the same stitch we just slip stitched into. Then place 2 single crochets into each stitch, or to each chain space, one chain one space around. Please continue this all the way around, and I'll meet up with you at the end of round 11. I'm at the end of round 11. We have 60 single crochets, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet that we made. Chain 1, and we're going to place 1 single crochet into the same stitch, and then we're going to place 1 single crochet into each stitch that we made. Just 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. Please continue this until you get back around to the first single crochet that you made. I will meet up with you at the end of this round. I'm at the end of round 12. I have 60 stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made and chain 1. Now for rounds 13 through 22, we're going to repeat rounds 9 through 12. So that is going to be 2 rounds of bean stitch and 2 rounds of single crochet, and we're going to repeat that twice. So rounds 13 through 22 is a repeat of rounds 9 through 12, and we're going to repeat those twice. So it's a bean stitch round and a single crochet round. So 2 rounds of bean stitch and 2 rounds of single crochet twice. So please repeat this, and I will meet up with you at the end of round 22, where we will complete round 23 to finish the hat. I'm at the end of round 20. I'm going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that I did. I'm going to chain 1, and we're going to make 1 more round of single crochet for round 23. So make 1 more single crochet in every stitch around for round 23. Please continue this, and I'll meet you back up at the end of this round. I'm at the end of round 23. We're going to pull up our yarn and snip it off so that we can do our invisible finish. Pull out your yarn, and we're going to thread up our yarn needle and look at the top of your stitches your first stitch, you're going to thread the yarn through the stitch and then back through the last stitch, just like so, so it looks like another stitch, just like that. Then come to the inside, and we're going to weave it under some stitches to lock it in place, just like you were finishing off. I like to weave it under a couple of different places just to make sure it's nice and secure. Weave it in a couple of times so it's locked in place. Then we can snip off the yarn and our hat is finished. So here is our bean stitch hat, all nice and finished. So if you like this tutorial, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to smash that like button so you don't miss any of my tutorials. Thanks for watching, and happy crocheting!